Chapter 71, Greta enraged as Florida man cut 2,000 trees in front of official agents. Having subordinates was convenient. Leo had time to work with the terrain clearing, removing iron pine trees from his domain. He also mutated the surrounding grasses and bushes, making more weird items. While Leo was working, he spotted 100 silhouettes of people at a distance. They had been hiding behind trees and shades, staying 200 meters away from Leo's shop domain. Leo glanced at these people and pretended that he didn't notice them. He carried the last iron pine tree in his shop domain to the empty lot near the junkyard. Then, he proceeded to remove the barks and branches from the logs. The crowd of stalkers moved closer to the shop domain. However, they remained out of the premise as they had no place to hide. All trees and bushes had been removed, and the trenches were too shallow for them to hide during the daytime. While Leo worked on the tree barks, he sneaked glances at the stalkers several times. He started to get annoyed as they neither attacked him nor declared their intention. After finishing the 10th log, Leo paused his work. He let the mannequins do their jobs, bringing the tree bark, leaves, nuts, and other resources to the warehouse. As for him, he had another task to do. Leo walked toward the southwest of his shop domain. He stepped on the Mystic Realm portal platform, but he didn't activate it. He proceeded further and reached the boundary of his shop domain for the first time. The crowd that had been hiding and inspecting the Mystic Realm portal in secret dispersed. They slipped away in the dark and stayed 200 meters away from Leo. The latter noticed their movements, but he didn't pursue them. After crossing the boundary, Leo came across a blue forest. This area got contaminated by the iron pine tree's aura, and they turned into something similar to spirit grasses. However, as Leo got closer and touched them, they blackened and evolved into iron pine trees. Leo snorted. He quietly uprooted the trees and threw them over the portal platform as if he was a Superman quarterback, treating the tree logs as a ball. The crowd remained silent. They backed away while they continued to observe Leo. Leo also noticed their intentions. He kept clearing land, removing every tree he touched. This time, he ignored small bushes as they took too long to remove. 1 hour later, Leo successfully removed 200 iron pine trees, clearing 1/3 of an acre's worth of land. He inwardly laughed as he thought of the ancient tree lovers back in the modern days. They would have cried bloody tears if they had seen Leo's deeds that day. As the land was partly cleared, the spies from various clans could no longer hide close to the Mystic Realm portal. Still, they quietly observed Leo's power and took notes of his actions. Unfortunately for them, Leo had another plan in mind. After he rearranged the 200 logs north of the portal platform, the 3 warehouse mannequins came to survey the area. They masterfully uprooted bushes and immortal grass, piling them nearby. Leo also returned to remove other trees. The crowd started to notice the trend. They clicked their tongues and relocated themselves. Leo entered beast mode that day and almost deforested the Sword Saint Forest. When the sun went down, Leo finished uprooting the 2,000th tree. The logs piled up everywhere in the shop domain, and the workshop mannequins never stopped working. When Leo stopped working, he admired the scenery around his shop domain by jumping 500 meters into the sky. He looked around and laughed as no tree existed near the boundary of his domain anymore. With fewer places to hide, the stalkers were forced to keep a distance from the shop domain and sensitive structures, such as the farmlands and the Mystic Realm platform. Still, Leo was not satisfied with the result. He aimed to remove every tree, creating a border surrounding the domain. Leo snorted and returned to the store and called it a day. He yawned and threw himself on the bed. At midnight, a wooden mannequin unlocked the front door and entered the store. It looked around for a moment and entered Leo's bedroom. Noticing that Leo was sleeping soundly, it stood next to him and leaned closer to his face. As the mannequin couldn't talk, it stood there, menacingly staring at Leo's sleeping face with 2 red lenses. Snore. The mannequin tilted its head. It gazed at Leo's mouth and poked it with his finger. Leo didn't react or move. The mannequin straightened his back. It quietly walked out of the store and picked up the bucket of cat's mutated water. Then it came back with the bucket. Upon getting back to the room, the mannequin didn't splash the water on Leo. Instead, it gently poured the mutated water into Leo's mouth, 1 drop at a time. It continued adding water for the entire night. YAWN. Leo returned from his dream world, and he could feel his real body. He stretched, readying his mind for a new day. Mlem. For an unknown reason, his mouth was strangely moist. His throat wasn't as dry as usual. Moreover, the bitter mint taste got stuck in his mouth. Leo squinted his eyebrows as he recognized this scent. It smelled like cat saliva. Because of the unusual experience, he opened his eyes. Insert JoJo ambient sound here. The creepy face of the third alchemy workshop's mannequin was 2 centimeters away from Leo's face. It tilted its head 45 degrees while its red eyes shone. Leo didn't utter a sound as he wasn't afraid of ghosts or monsters. He was simply speechless by the first sight in the morning. After allowing his brain to process information, Leo gently pushed the wooden doll's face away and sat up. "Are you out of containers?" The mannequin repeatedly nodded. "Fine. I'll get more for you dash." Clank clank. As Leo got out of bed while he spoke, his foot accidentally kicked a certain empty bucket. Leo looked down and found the wooden bucket, which was reserved for cats drinking water. Leo licked the ceiling of his gum. He thought of the nasty smell of cat's saliva and connected the dots. Leo was not angry at the mannequin. Instead, he thought that cat pranked him. He face-bombed. Boom boom boom. Meow! Meanwhile, someone had been searching for her water bucket. Cat smacked the front door and the display windows while screaming, calling Leo to come out. PFFT. Leo snickered and picked up the bucket, toothbrush, and toothpaste. He then led the mannequin out of the store. Another slow and peaceful morning continued. At noon, Han Hao traveled from Magpie City to Leo's store on foot. He brought along 20 outer disciples from the sect to help Leo. When they arrived, they were stunned by the cleared land. The Sword Saint Boulder became a part of Leo's domain as the surrounding trees were gone. It became a landmark, informing them that they were in Leo's territory. Han Hao bitterly smiled as he couldn't complain about what Leo had done to the sacred place. He quietly led the young cultivators to the store. Along the way, Han Hao ran into Wu Bai, who had been concocting pills in front of his house. When their eyes met, Wu Bai gestured to him with his eyes that he was busy. "I think you should take a look at." Han Hao was an understanding man. He turned around and informed the group, "Don't disturb the elder. Follow me." The disciples gulped and quietly saluted Wu Bai. Then, they proceeded to the front of the store. Among the crowd, Gao Yan also tagged along. He wanted to greet his mentor, but Wu Bai didn't bother looking at him. In addition, upon seeing so many buildings and farms, Gao Yan was astonished that he forgot what he should speak to his master. The mannequins still ran around like nothing had happened. The farmer bots struggled to collect potatoes in the farms while 3 logistic mannequins carried huge logs and potatoes to their respective storehouses. While the disciples gawked at the strange buildings and scenery, a mannequin with a yellow jacket and a protection helmet came out from a 5-meter-wide road between the store and Wu Bai's house. It walked past the group and picked up a piece of wooden branch and black iron pine leaves on the ground. Then it carried them to the back of the store building. The disciples observed them with interest. One of them peeped into the alley road and found alchemy workshop buildings behind the store. "Wow, there's an alchemy section. Gao Yan, you're lucky." Gao Yan followed his friend's gaze and found the first and the second workshop. He widely grinned. "I guess I have a place to train." "Lucky you." Han Hao coughed. "Be quiet." Whoops. After shutting the disciples' mouths, Han Hao deeply sighed and looked around as he couldn't find the monster plant. Instead, he detected several life signatures in the forest in the distance, and they had been observing them. Why are there so many lurkers around here? How many clans dispatched their agents here? Han Hao thought of the previous incident when Leo slaughtered the raiders. He wondered if they were related to the Factory cult, Ouyang clan, or the Situ clan. Han Hao was also afraid of the potential Imperial Court's agents. After shaking his head and getting rid of unnecessary thoughts, Han Hao knocked at the door. "Senior Florida man, I have brought you helpers." As soon as Han Hao made some noise, a certain monster plant came out from the granary, which was located directly behind Wu Bai's house. Cat peeked at the crowd while she was in the building. When she spotted someone she knew, Cat came out and immediately extorted them for nom-nom tax. "Nom nom meow? It's you again." Han Hao laughed and ejected a dead horse from his spatial ring. He tossed the carcass to her. Cat caught the corpse with her chomper mouth and grinned. She receded back to the granary and disappeared. The disciples trembled in fear as some of them had never seen such a monster before. Only Gao Yan seemed indifferent to Cat. "G Grand Elder Han, what in the spirit's mercy is that?" Han Hao rolled his eyes. "Senior Florida man's pet." PP pet? He's keeping a monster as a pet. Get used to it. Y'all signed up to work here for spirit stones. and you'll soon live here. If you don't want to get eaten, you'd better learn and follow Senior Florida Man's instructions. Again, the disciples gulped. Only Gao Yen inwardly laughed at his colleagues. A few minutes later, Leo came out from the store building. Toothbrush foam stained his mouth and beard as he brushed his teeth 8th time today. Oh, it's you. Leo looked at the crowd behind Han Hao. Noticing a familiar face, Leo grinned. Good to see you again, Gao Yen. Have you gotten better? Gao Yen dryly laughed. I haven't learned much from my master. He keeps disappearing. Oh, my bad. He has been working here. Everybody glanced at Wu Bai, who was still busy with his cauldron. But while everybody paid attention to him, Wu Bai finished his batch of pills. Boom. 15 high-grade Yang Flame Dawn came out. However, Wu Bai was not satisfied with his work. He mumbled to himself while he looked at the open scroll on the ground, which he had taken notes from what he had learned from observing the mannequin alchemists. My essence is lacking. I don't have all the necessary essence like those golems. Also, something isn't right during the merging process. I don't have enough qi to sustain the other half of the pot. Damn, alchemy is hard. Wu Bai grumbled and looked up. Then his eyes met with Gao Yen. Disciple, you've come at the right time. Come with me. We'll go and learn the new concoction method from a Grandmaster Golem. Bring your goddamn notes. Eh? Gao Yen couldn't even react. Wu Bai dragged him to the first alchemy workshop to learn the techniques by observing. Leo and Han Hao stared at them and shook their heads in unison. Then they proceeded with their talk. So, are they the workers? I don't have to pay them, right? Leo seized up the people behind Han Hao. The crowd was embarrassed, and they lowered their heads. Yes, Senior. The sect will provide the salary. But if you can, please provide them basic needs, such as a place to rest or cultivate. If better, please give them some bonuses, such as some of your pills. I'm not a cheapskate. I have plenty of element grain pills and rejuvenate tea to feed them for 1,000 years. Han Hao was inwardly envious of the disciples. He gulped and whispered, to them, can I have a few bottles of rejuvenate tea for the trouble? Leo sneered and walked back to the store. He then came out with 4 bottles of cold tea. Han Hao received them in glee, but when he noticed the quality and the color, he was surprised. Wait a second, Senior. Isn't your tea the pinnacle grade? Leo puffed his chest. Damn straight. My tea is the pinnacle of all tea. Ha 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 ha. Standing in front of the 3rd workshop cauldron was the alchemy mannequin. He overheard the conversation and turned his head 180 degrees. Then, his eyes gleamed as if he wanted to protest Leo that he made them. Pinnacle grade rejuvenate tea. Evolve bone marrow and blood cells. Decrease physical age by 20 years per liter. Increase metabolism by 100% for 480 hours. Remove cancer cells. Chapter 72, Florida Man mistakes Emperor Envoy as Ohio Man. Offends the officials. Leo guided the disciples and Han Hao to the store's ground floor. Welcome to Narnia, he cackled. The crowd dropped their jaws as the space in the building was massive, and there was a 2nd floor. They believed that it was as big as the entire cleared land. However, one thing puzzled them. Aside from a partitioned room, the rest of the store was empty, including the other 19 blank rooms. Senior, something is wrong with your building. How come it's empty? Han Hao couldn't help but ask. That's because the workers will be very busy here. Leo looked at the young men behind Han Hao. He counted their heads. Coincidentally, there were 19 of them, which was equal to the number of available partitioned rooms. See the empty lots? Leo pointed at the empty rooms. These will be the place for you to stay. Pick one to be your temporary home. I'll build a proper abode for you later. By the way, you have 100 breaths to unload your belongings and pick your place. Gather here when you're done. Eh? The disciples were taken aback. They thought that they would have to build their own shelters or live in the forest. Instead, they got a place to sleep under the rooftop. Because of the time limit, the disciples started running around to choose their place. As they wore straw sandals and cloth shoes, they brought a lot of mud and dirt from the forest to the store, dirtying the floor. Leo glanced at the floor. Then his expression was dark. A moment later, he beamed Han Hao with a bright smile as he remembered that he got free henchmen. Han Hao noticed the creepy smile. He cupped his fist and excused himself. Since I've delivered the manpower, I'll be taking my leave. I see. I won't send you off. Be careful on the way back. There are too many eyes around here. I can tell. Svel. Han Hao left the building and flew back to the sect. After the disciples finished picking their places, they gathered in front of Leo. They were ready to work and earn their keep. Looking at the young men, Leo summoned their status menu to see their names and lifespan. They also got to see their value for the first time. Remaining lifespan, 137 years. Remaining lifespan, 171 years. Remaining lifespan, 145 years. Their lifespan varied, depending on their cultivation base and talent. As most of them were still Qi condensation cultivators, none of them surpassed 200. Leo thought of Yao Qiqi as that girl who had better potential than these disciples. He wondered how much lifespan she would have if once she reached the pinnacle of her potential. Leo clapped his hands once to remove the thoughts and get the disciples' attention. He briefed them about the nature of this store. As you can see, everybody has a lifespan and I can let you see them. My store also uses lifespan as a currency. Oh, don't worry. We accept spirit stones too. But my items are very expensive. The disciples dropped their jaws and gawked at the floating system screens in front of them. They also compared their lifespans with their colleagues, and they made fun of each other for having fewer years to live. Ahem. The disciples stopped making fun of their friends and looked at Leo after the cough. Then, Leo resumed the briefing. For now, I want you to start mopping the floor. I'll provide you with the tools, of course. Also, next time you enter the store, take off your goddamn shoes. Everybody looked at the floor and found their dirty footprints on the white marble floor. They gulped as the mud and dirt were everywhere. Meanwhile, Leo secretly purchased mops and water buckets. Then he passed them to the disciples. Start cleaning. I'll be back in a few hours. Oh, if you need water, you can get some in the public toilet next to the storeroom, aka my freaking bedroom. Oh, nobody should be in my room, or you're fired. The public toilet that Leo had longed for appeared along with the new rooms. It came with 5 unisex toilet stalls and 2 face-washing basins. A water faucet for utility also existed under the basins, and it provided tap water even though Leo had never installed any water system. As the disciples were confused, Leo led them to the toilet and pointed at the faucet under the basins. He showed an example by pushing the lever. Zay. Clean water came out, and the disciples were shocked. Ha! A water artifact? But I don't sense Qi. How? Leo rolled his eyes as these country bumpkins had never seen a running water system. He felt like he had time-traveled to the medieval era. Instead of getting surprised by everything, get your mops wet and start cleaning. Don't forget to take off your shoes. This ain't Murica House. Everybody wanted to retort that putting shoes on and off was troublesome. Still, they complied with the order and cleaned their feet with the tap water. Then they started working. After 2 hours of cleaning the ground floor and the second floor, Leo gathered the disciples for another task. He taught them the daily routine. This is the first day, so there won't be a lot of work. Still, I'm going to teach you what you will be doing every day from now on. First, I want you to look outside the window. Leo guided the disciples to the display window on the second floor, which had a better view of the farmlands. The disciple followed Leo to the second floor and gazed outside. I think you should take a look at. On the farmlands, 3 mannequins awkwardly harvested giant potatoes from the field. Then they witnessed the massive crops that the golems pulled from the ground. Is that really a potato? For real? Leo nodded. Real potato, damn straight. Wow. Those wood golems are working non-stop, but they can't harvest everything by themselves. Because of that, helping those golems will be your daily job. Now, put on the boots and follow me outside. Leo provided them with rubber boots, which he had bought from the online store. The disciples admired the texture of the orange boots and put them on. Some of them laughed as the boots were a lot bigger than their feet. The crowd visited the farmland. Then, Leo ordered them to help the mannequin farmers. The disciples were stronger than average adult men. They dug giant potatoes out, and they carried them to the granary. With their help, Leo managed to clean up the 3 farms of potatoes, allowing him to plant something else. Leo ordered the first golem to continue growing potatoes. The second farm was allocated to grow tomatoes, while the third was assigned to plant chilies. As soon as the mannequin dropped the tomato seeds and chili seeds, the timer came out. 23 hours, 59 minutes, 57 seconds. Strangely, both types of crops had the same timer. Leo was relieved that it took a long time to grow as his granary was almost full even though Cat was there to sabotage his food reserve. After the potatoes were dealt with, Leo allowed the disciples to have their free time to wander around. However, he refrained from getting out of the domain boundary as the stalkers were still lurking in the woods. The disciples cheered and rushed toward the alchemy workshops behind the store. The lurking stalkers from the Ouyang clan stared at the disciples while they smirked. They believed they had found Leo's weaknesses. One of them suggested to their colleagues, "Let's take a few of them to the clan and blackmail that alchemist." Agreed. Everybody let out a long sigh as they could finally go home after this mission. The Ouyang spies weren't the only ones with this idea. The Factory cultists among the lurkers also had an eye on the disciples and Gao Yen. They also communicated with their superior officers in the Cauliflower City. "We've discovered Florida Man's weaknesses. We shall take some of his disciples back to the cult." On the other hand, the Situ clan's agents were wary of Leo. They consulted with their people for hours before Situ Nantion gave them an order. One of them relayed the instruction to his colleague. "Grand Elder has given us a decree. Do not touch the disciples. Let the foolish people from the Ouyang clan and the Factory cult take the brunt. Once they're gone, we will try to form an amicable relationship with the alchemist and get on his good side. If that doesn't work, we'll think of another approach." Although Situ clan had a close tie with the Factory cult, they weren't friendly allies. Situ Nantion made a clear stance that they were simply a group of customers to their clan, and they didn't need to avenge their comrades. The Situ clan's agents received the order and withdrew from the area. Whoosh, whoosh. While the lurkers from 3 major organizations made their moves, another group of underlings arrived at the Sword Saint Forest. They rushed toward the cleared area and hid at the border. They were the agents of the Imperial Court. Moreover, they brought big shots along with them. Among the nascent soul cultivators, 2 of them were absurdly stronger than the others. One of them was the aide of Yanzhu, the 3rd prince. He went by the name Yi Tianxie, and he was a soul transformation cultivator. Another one was none other than the Imperial Chancellor Tang Xian, the quasi-immortal. They had one purpose: investigating the new source of essence stones. Chancellor Tang didn't bother hiding. He took a long stride and walked out from the shades, approaching the store. His followers hesitated for a moment, but they also came out. Everybody ignored the spirit grasses around them and entered the store domain. Leo stopped watching over the disciples. He noticed a large group of people coming out from the south, and they had fancy clothes. The kind-looking old man in front of the group reminded him of his uncle from Ohio. They used to visit a shooting range together and got banned because his uncle accidentally shot the ceiling by mistake. In addition, one of them had a similar rainbow aura to him. A comrade. Leo brightly smiled. Or dumbass morons. Either way, welcome. Leo turned toward the new guests and waited for them to get closer. The crowd crossed the farmland field and arrived in front of the store unhindered. Chancellor Tang gazed at Leo for a moment. Then, he announced and brought out a golden scroll from his spatial ring. "Accept the Emperor's decree." Leo was confused. He stood still, waiting for the old man to finish his sentence. He didn't know. According to the custom, he was supposed to kneel as the scroll represented the Emperor's presence. Not bowing to the decree was equivalent to an insult to the monarchy. The crowd behind Chancellor Tang was enraged as Leo didn't show them courtesy. They unsheathed their swords and pointed at Leo's face. "Kneel, peasant. Know your place." Leo widened his eyes in astonishment. A few seconds later, it turned into a bashful smile. Well, this is going to be exciting again. Welcome. Please continue." Chapter 73. Florida Man Trainee Murders Police Officer Using Pokemon. Chancellor Tang Xian and Yi Tianxie gave Leo a meaningful look. As the latter didn't kneel, they took it as a clear sign that Leo had no intention to submit to the Yan Empire. Yi Tianxie was enraged, but his expression was emotionless. He calmly warned Leo, "Please show respect to the Emperor's presence and his decree. Otherwise, we will take you as a rebel, and we will apprehend you, sir." Hearing the warning, Leo was overjoyed. He laughed. "Come and apprehend me. I won't bow my head to a stupid paper." Yi Tianxie deeply sighed. He wished he could kill Leo right now, but his cultivation base was lower than the quasi-immortal stage. He swallowed his frustration and glanced at the Chancellor. Chancellor Tang noticed the glance. He slightly shook his head as he had no intention of provoking the mysterious expert. He continued reading the decree even though Leo refused to kneel. "Hear the decree. The Emperor has noticed that you are in possession of contraband items, essence stones. By the imperial laws, Section 29. All sources of essence stones belong to the imperial court, and all cultivators and citizens must hand over their essence stones to the imperial court officials if they acquire them from an unauthorized source. If refused to comply, the carriers of essence stones will be treated and prosecuted as a rebel, and their 7 generations will be executed. Oh cool, what a nice empire. Picking up a stone from a roadside can get your 7 generations killed. Superb. Leo slowly clapped and snickered in a good mood. Because of his interruption, the officials and agents behind Chancellor Tang and Yi Tianxia gnashed their teeth and circulated their qi, preparing to strike Leo. Chancellor Tang deeply sighed and raised one hand to stop them. His other hand still held the paper as he continued reading. Still, because Life Sword Sect has never attended any annual meeting in the Imperial Palace, any related crime committed by the local cultivators in the Life Sword Sect's territory will not be prosecuted. Instead, the Emperor wishes to invite you and representatives from Life Sword Sect to the Imperial Palace so that he can issue you a permit to possess essence stones. Yi Tianxia and the others were stunned as they had never heard of this before. When they were in the throne room, the Emperor didn't mention anything about the exception. Noticing the people's expressions, Chancellor Tang sneered at them. He smiled at Leo. Secondly, as Death Sword Sect and the Factory Cult have been secretly and indirectly suppressing the Life Sword Sect, the Emperor believes that the sect has a legitimate reason to request compensation. Therefore, the Emperor temporarily grants the Life Sword Sect and Cultivator Florida Man the permit to possess unauthorized essence stones for 1 year, and they are allowed to monopolize the new sources of essence stones until the next annual meeting. This condition persists until further changes. And that's the end of the decree. Please receive the edict. What? Yi Tianxia was frustrated. He couldn't believe that the Emperor's edict was real, as the Emperor's order back then was different. He snatched the scroll from Chancellor Tang's hand and reread everything. Unfortunately, everything in the scroll was exactly as Chancellor Tang had read. No word was exaggerated. How can this be? I thought the Emperor ordered us to kill him and seize his essence stones. Yi Tianxia protested. Chancellor Tang scoffed. Are you questioning the Emperor? And no, Yi Tianxia wasn't Chancellor Tang's opponent. He receded and lowered his head. Still, as he worked for the third prince, he was dissatisfied with this decree. Meanwhile, someone else was also unhappy. Leo's expression was dark as the guests over here came in peace instead of trying to be a cliché bully. He deeply sighed. I'm disappointed, Leo complained. Why are you disappointed? Fellow Taoist. Chancellor Tang didn't understand Leo. He tried his best to protect the Life Sword Sect and give them a way out of the political strife. Yet Leo didn't play along. Leo waved his hand. Forget it. I ain't going to the Imperial Court whatsoever. My essence stones belong to me, and I won't hand them over. The same for the essence stones in the Life Sword Sect. You can't have them. Chancellor Tang grinned and reminded Leo. The Emperor won't force you. In fact, he has no intention to antagonize you. He simply sends me here to investigate the new source of essence stones. But if you're unhappy with the Imperial Court's laws, you can always share your opinion with me, and I can report back to the Emperor. In fact, if I want to, I can even change the laws. Tisk! This annoyed Leo more. He wished these guests would attack him so that he could steal their lifespan. But judging from how the old man behaved and his tone, the plan was impossible. On the other hand, the crowd was raring to attack Leo at any moment. Their red faces, squinted brows, and bulging blood vessels on their faces said it all. Leo stared at the angry crowd and the friendly old man. Looking at the polarized expressions, he suddenly had an idea. He mischievously grinned and summoned lifespan status menus for them to see. Leo also verified their identities. Ding! Status menu screens appeared in front of the angry visitors. Chancellor Tang and Yi Tianxia could finally see their remaining life. Name Tang Xian. Age 1209. Remaining lifespan 1720 years, 10 months, 12 days, 9 hours, 37 minutes. Name Yi Tianxia. Age 211. Remaining lifespan 1789 years, 9 months, 15 days, 12 hours, 21 minutes. Looking at their ages and their lifespan, Leo was surprised and amused. His respect toward the thin old man was raised to another level as this person managed to live 1,000 years. As for Yi Tianxia, Leo didn't think much about him other than a fat pig waiting to be slaughtered. The cultivators behind Yi Tianxia and Chancellor Tang were flabbergasted. They looked at their remaining time ticking down while they tried to touch the hologram screens. On the other hand, Tang Xian revealed a faint smile and deeply exhaled. He laughed and uttered, "Wow, my secret is exposed. This is quite a useful technique. I wish my clan and the imperial court could use this ability 1,000 years ago. This would have made our lives a lot easier during the war." Liu heard something interesting again. Although he wished to ask Tang Xian what happened 1,000 years ago, he didn't bother asking as it was not the time to learn about their backstories and history. He coughed to get their attention. "Well, let me introduce myself. My Taoist name is Florida Man, and I run a lifespan general store. We trade rare herbs, essence stones, and rare items for lifespan. I hope you understand what I'm doing here." Finally getting Liu's introduction, Tang Xian merrily laughed and saluted. "Friend Florida Man likewise. I hope we can have an amicable relationship. The imperial court is not your enemy, and we will never harm you." Again, Liu inwardly cursed Tang Xian for trying to pacify the situation. Still, Liu baited them into attacking him by revealing one of his best-selling items. He pulled out an essence stone from his pants pocket. The crowd glared at Liu when the essence stone came out. Unlike the essence stones in the palace or their clan, which passed through many hands and contained thin energy, Liu's stone was brimmed with elemental essence as if its energy had never been extracted. Even Tang Xian was stunned to see such a fresh stone. Liu threw a bomb at them. "I'm selling this stone for 10 years of lifespan. Anybody wants to buy it?" "What?" Liu burst into laughter in his mind as he added 1 0 to the price tag. Since these guys ruined Liu's mood, he returned the favor by ruining their opportunity to get his cheap items. He didn't realize that it was still too cheap for the local standards. Yi Tianxie drooled as he was tempted to buy the stone. Still, he and his followers were disciplined, and they instantly suppressed their desire. The former secretly communicated with the crowd that "I think you should take a look at. Do not purchase the item or we might fall into his trap. The stone is still illegal. If we buy them, he will blackmail us later that we also possess illegal items." Everybody except Tang Xian nodded. The latter glanced at his colleagues and shook his head in disappointment. He signed and continued conversing with Liu. "I assume this stone is from the new source of essence stones, correct?" Liu shrugged. "Probably. Then, could you tell me which mystic realm you got the stones from? I don't sense a spirit mine or a quarry around here." Liu's lips twitched. His inner self yearned to flex these guys by converting a spirit stone into an essence stone in front of them. However, his logical thoughts prevented Liu from showing off and doing something stupid. As Liu remained silent, Tang Xian teased him. "If I have to guess, did you, by chance, discover a way to successfully convert spirit stones into essence stones? I heard celestial stage immortals could use every element in the world and could magically terraform wasteland into lush forests. Are you one of them?" Bullseye. Liu maintained his poker face, but his hands were already sweaty. Seeing that Liu didn't react, Tang Xian laughed and changed the subject to decrease the tension. "Do you have any other items to sell, friend Florida Man?" Liu gestured and invited them into the building. Tang Xian brightly smiled and followed Liu, entering the general store. Although Liu and Tang Xian already entered the building, the others still lingered in front of the store. Yi Tianxie and his men were still reluctant to compromise. "Look at this. Wow, this is so cool." While they were standing idly in front of the store, they heard loud noises from the disciples in the alley. Yi Tianxie and his men gazed in their direction and found several disciples and mannequin golems in the field, chatting and holding thorn vines that they picked up from the junkyard. As soon as they noticed the thorn vines, the men's eyes gleamed. They sensed raw qi from the items in their hands, and they seemed to be raw materials for good weapons. "Hey, aren't those low-grade treasures?" "Probably. I used to see that in a wood-type mystic realm. An elder from Amazonian Sanctuary turned it into a high-graded weapon. Many clans tried to buy it off her hand and offered her 100 million spirit stones, but she refused." "Really? Then, aren't those 100 million spirit stones in front of our eyes?" "Yeah, I think so." The crowd smirked. Yi Tianxie also sneered at the disciples as they could take advantage of them. Without hesitation, Yi Tianxie strode toward the group of disciples. He flared the badge of an imperial official and shouted, "You are under arrest for possessing a contraband item. Surrender immediately, or your 3 generations will be executed." What? The disciples took several steps backward in shock and stared at Yi Tianxie in confusion. They looked at each other as they couldn't understand. As Yi Tianxia took the lead, his men laughed and kicked the ground. They surrounded the group of disciples and snatched the thorn vines from their hands. "Give them here!" "No!" The men kicked the young disciples away and admired the stolen materials. The adults got 10 thorn vines, and they immediately stored them in their spatial rings. The commotion was loud enough for another adult to notice. Wu Bai, who was in the middle of teaching Gao Yan about the workshop, heard the noise and came over. Then he saw the scene of adults stealing items from kids. Hey! Even though Wu Bai was just a nascent soul cultivator, he wasn't afraid of the crowd of cultivators with the same cultivation stage. He stood in front of the disciples and ejected a cauldron from his spatial ring, preparing for combat. "Return the kids' weapons, or else." Yi Tianxia found Wu Bai amusing. The group of nascent soul cultivators also sneered and mocked Wu Bai. "What are you going to do about it? Throwing the cauldron at me? Ha ha ha, don't say that. We're not supposed to offend the alchemist. It's common sense that we can't provoke them, unless it's self-defense." "Heh, right. Come on, alchemist. Attack me. Try it. We'd love to self-defense and accidentally kill you. After we're done with you, we'll sell those kids as slaves since they offend the imperial officials." Hearing the crowd's obnoxious taunt, Wu Bai was enraged. He glanced at the granary and noticed that a certain plant had been eavesdropping on the conversation. Their eyes met. Wu Bai's mouth curved up. He looked at the imperial agents. Suddenly, Wu Bai shouted, "Nom nom time, plant. These men are your food." Boom. As soon as Wu Bai declared, Cat jumped out from the granary and rushed Yi Tianxia's men. Nom nom meow. Chomp. Cat was faster than before. In a blink of an eye, the upper torso of the guy near the granary disappeared into Cat's mouth, leaving only a bloody lower torso and legs. "What?" Cat gleefully chewed the cultivator and killed him in one bite. Her skin absorbed the lifespan of the victim, and her strength soared. Nom nom. Looking at the crowd, Cat maliciously grinned. Wu Bai also jumped and stood on Cat's head, pointing his finger at the hostile visitors. Nom nom time, plant. Let's eat. Nom nom meow. Chapter 74. Cops panic as Florida man trainee releases wildcat on street. Monster! The nascent soul cultivators were surprised as the huge chomper suddenly charged out from the granary and ate one of them. Because of their reflex and common sense, they evaluated Cat's strength first. Yi Tianxia was the same. Everybody soon discovered Cat's cultivation base. 4th stage monster. Be careful. This monster is as strong as a nascent soul cultivator. Although a nascent soul cultivator was considered a 5th stage cultivator, they could only defeat 4th stage monsters or weaker, as a monster standard was stronger than cultivators by 1-tier. Monsters were physically stronger than humans by nature, and they could defeat cultivators with a higher cultivation base. Facing the huge monster, they stopped mocking Wu Bai. They brought out their treasures and artifacts. Floating spears, talismans, jade emblems, daggers, mirrors, and dishes orbited around their masters. Had Leo seen them, he would have questioned their sense and weapon choice, as some of them brought dishes to battle. He would have been confused that they had come here to beg for food. Unfortunately, Wu Bai didn't have Florida man's mentality. As a local cultivator, he knew exactly what those flying dishes could do. Shameless bastards, bringing out artifacts while ganging on us. Dishes of flame negation on a plant monster? They won't work. Hearing Wu Bai, the crowd laughed at him. Who said that we brought the flame negation dishes to suppress the monster? They're for you. 5 of the cultivators formed a hand incantation and pointed at Wu Bai. All dishes faced him and emitted a blue Chinese character water. The floating character then shone and fired a blue beam at Wu Bai. Wu Bai narrowed his eyes as he prepared to dodge. However, Cat suddenly jumped and opened her mouth. The beam entered her chomper mouth and was transformed into fresh water as she converted the water element chi into physical water. She swallowed them and burped. The next second, her skin became glossy and moist. The nascent soul cultivators blankly stared at Cat as they didn't think this through. They forgot that water element attacks benefited plant-based monsters. Therefore, using water-based artifacts on Cat was the same as watering a tree. Fool! Use fire artifacts and Dao avatars on the monster. Yi Tianxia commanded the men. Be but alchemists are fire masters. That man will steal our chi if we do. The agents had the experience of dealing with alchemists in combat. As they primarily cultivated fire element chi to use in alchemy, they were considered the strongest when they faced fire attacks. Some of the alchemist masters even had a domineering Taoist title, such as Phoenix Flame or Inferno Master, as no fire attacks could harm them. Tisk. Annoyed by his men's incompetency, Yi Tianxia pushed the crowd aside and faced Cat and Wu Bai himself. He unsheathed his sword and pointed at them. Kneel and hand over everything in your possession. If you beg for forgiveness right now, I'll give you a quick death. Ah yes, the usual threat. This is why I decline the Imperial Court's invitation. Wu Bai sneered and summoned his Dao avatar. A spirit of a moss-gladded hand and a fire wisp appeared behind him. Then, they entered his cauldron, transforming it into a burning hand in green flame. Cat's human part looked up as she hated fire. Meow. Wu Bai laughed at Cat. Don't worry, kid. My green flame has both flame and wood attributes. It can't harm any tree or plant. Instead, it will only make you stronger. Meow, love. Cat cheered as she was relieved. She focused and utilized her Dao avatar. The infant spirit returned to her body and merged with her. Then, the rainbow aura and radiation of Leo that she had been collecting emanated from her eyes. At the same time, Wu Bai poured the green flame into Cat, enhancing her power and her cultivation base. Feeling the surge of new energy, Cat rode the momentum and unleashed her trump card. Maya Ia. Rumble. The attached humanoid torso on the chomper's head grew up. She became as tall as a 6-year-old little girl, but Cat only had an upper humanoid torso. Meanwhile, Cat's chomper head, vines and roots grew larger. She got 10 meters taller while a new eye above her mouth emerged. It slowly opened and glared at the crowd below. She became a colossus monster, and her true cultivation base was revealed. Her strength jumped from the 4th stage to the 6th stage, which was equivalent to the soul formation stage. In addition, she still retained her monster's physique. She was capable of fighting soul transformation cultivators. A soul transformation stage cultivator might not even be her opponent. Wu Bai laughed. He had expected that Cat had been hiding her true strength. However, instead of being impressed by her potential, he praised Leo. Such insight. Lord Florida Man must have known about your potential. That's why he has been raising you and giving you everything. Wow. Meow, love. Cat puffed her chest for a moment, but she soon realized that Wu Bai didn't praise her. She pouted and crossed her arms. Meanwhile, the crowd below panicked. What? A 6th stage monster. Not the 4th stage. Even Yi Tianxia was shocked. Because of this miscalculation, his whole battalion was in danger. Had Cat attacked them with her full strength, everybody except Tang Xian and Yi Tianxia would have died instantly. Instead of maintaining composure and commanding his men, Yi Tianxia pushed the crowd ahead of him and hid among the nascent soul cultivators. He also yelled, "Somebody go and call Chancellor Tang. I think you should take a look at." The subordinates had no time to swear or curse their cowardly leader. 2 of the people rushed toward the store building and tried to enter. Unfortunately, the door was locked. The cultivators slammed on the door and window, trying to break inside. However, their fists hit a transparent barrier a millimeter away from the door and windows. As they couldn't force their way inside, they shouted, trying to get Tang Xian's attention. "Chancellor, help us." Meanwhile, Leo and Tang Xian were alone in the store. As the former entered the store after Tang Xian, he locked the door behind him, isolating the old man inside. He didn't want 200 people to stroll into his empty mall and dirty the clean floor with their dirty shoes. Chancellor Tang admired the space inside the store. His reaction was modest even though his back and palms were already sweaty. Nobody knew what he had been thinking. Spatial formation? I see. You're very impressive, friend Florida Man. Leo raised his brow. You don't look surprised. This is not the first time I've seen a spatial distortion array at work. The Imperial Palace's treasury also has one. But I have to admit, ours is a bit smaller. I see. MHM. Tang Xian ignored the empty space and walked toward the shelves and showcase refrigerators. He walked straight toward the grain pill shelf and picked up a box of poison grain pills. Upon picking up the box and noticing the pills inside, Tang Xian widely smiled. I didn't expect to see another poison element cultivator. How long have you been making these? Oh, I should change the question. When did you make these? Leo didn't think much. He said honestly, as it was common sense for merchants to reveal the food's production dates and expiry dates. Roughly 2 weeks ago? What's wrong? Have they gone bad? Tang Xian laughed. How could it be? Poison pills are better the older they are. They age like wine. Tang Xian injected his qi into the box and made it float. Then he continued shopping, checking the items in the fridges and the shelves. Aside from the poison grain pills, he also picked a bundle of immortal grass. How much are the immortal grasses? 50 years of lifespan per blade. Please be mindful of how much you take. Can I pay with spirit stones or essence stones? I only take spirit stones. Also, the price is 500,000 spirit stones per blade. 10,000 spirit stones instead of a year of lifespan, I see. That's fair. Tang Xian's smiling face twitched for a moment. However, his white teeth shone like a flashbang. His eyes also flickered with purple light, but Leo couldn't tell what the old man was thinking. A few seconds later, Tang Xian shocked Leo. The elder suddenly pointed at the showcase refrigerator and asked him, I'll take every immortal grass in the showcase. I'll pay with spirit stones. Ha! I count the blades just now. There are 520 blades in there, so that comes to 260 million spirit stones. Is that correct? Wait. Leo was taken aback. Are you sure? That's a lot of spirit stones. Tang Xian shrugged. I'm rich, and I'm also an alchemist, so why not? Seeing Leo's speechless expression, Tang Xian snickered and stored the items that he had chosen in his spatial ring. Then he flickered a ring, full of spirit stones, toward Leo. The latter caught it with one hand. Consider it the price of my sincerity. I really wish to be your friend, not an enemy. We quasi-mortals are few. We should be on a friendly terms instead of trying to go after each other's jugular. Am I right? We can't have too many friends, but one enemy is too many. For once, Leo discovered a smart and sensible local man. He nodded as he respected the elder. I guess you don't live 1,000 years for nothing. Compared to you, I'm far inferior. I don't have the guts to provoke the imperial court, you know? Again, Tang Xian's grin was so creepy that Leo had goosebumps. Leo had a bad feeling about the guy. He knew too much. Bang bang. While Tang Xian enjoyed shopping, the people outside banged on the door and windows, trying to get in. Their muffled voice was audible. Chancellor, help US. Chapter 7500 Police officers brutally attacking Florida man's pet faces retribution. Tang Xian had been vigilant ever since the start of this journey. As a quasi-immortal, he could see many things that other cultivators couldn't. Thus, he had been on edge. As soon as he arrived at Florida man's domain, he noticed a faint energy aura, which drew a square around the store and other buildings. Tang Xian recognized the pattern right away as he had seen this boundary aura in many mystic realms, and his ancestors, who had ascended to the immortal realms, had taught Tang Xian once. Boundary lines were the indicators of a domain, which only immortals and celestial beings could use. In addition, domains enforced unique laws, and the people inside had to comply. For example, if the domain laws dictated that one must dance before they talk, everybody would be forced to dance according to the domain laws. Otherwise, they would be either kicked out or killed by the domain. The Tang clan's subordinate sect, the Sixth Element sect, which was also one of the 3 alchemy powerhouse organizations, also had a similar domain. It generated faint poisonous element qi in a small area, allowing the descendants of the Tang clan to cultivate them. However, it would instantly kill outsiders and unauthorized cultivators. Tang Xian also used to cultivate in the poison element domain, and it slingshot his status from a regular elder of the sect to an official in the imperial court. He became the strongest poison user and a master alchemist, which earned the respect of his quasi-immortal peers and the emperor. Although Chancellor Tang had a high status in the clan, sect, and imperial court, he had never seen such as large and expansive domain boundary before. He was in awe and was afraid of the owner of this domain at the same time. Upon meeting Leo, Tang Xian had doubts. He couldn't detect Leo's Dao avatar or measure his qi. Instead, his body produced strange air which caused his instinct to react. It constantly warned him to either run away from this domain or never touch him. After witnessing the hidden evidence, Tang Xian came up with a hypothesis. He suspected that Leo might be a celestial stage cultivator, who had been suppressing his strength to prolong his stay in a mortal world. So far, Tang Xian had been trying his best to de-escalate the tension to get on Leo's good side. He was ready for every situation, and he was willing to throw away his wealth to befriend Leo. Unfortunately, someone screwed him over. Bang bang. Chancellor, help US. Tang Xian hid his sweaty hands under his long sleeves. He inwardly cursed Yi Tianxie and his goons. What the hell are they doing? Are they stupid? Can't they tell that they are in an immortal's domain? Right, they can't. They can't possibly see the immortal's boundary. Damn it. I should have warned them. There were only two pains that men could choose to swallow, the pain of discipline or the pain of regrets. But in this situation, Tang Xian regretted that he failed to notify Yi Tianxia about Liu's true strength. Those idiots. Tang Xian maintained his smiling face and walked toward the door. He tried to open it. Click. Unfortunately, it was locked. Friend Florida man, could you please? As Tang Xian had no idea how a modern door worked, he turned around and gazed at Liu. Betraying Tang Xian's expectation, Liu stared at the space in front of him in a daze. His wicked smile terrified the Chancellor. Oh yeah, that's right. Liu almost couldn't contain his laughter when he received an update from the domain system. Ding. Your employee, Cat, has been attacked. Self-defense mechanism is enabled. Would you like to punish the assailants? Liu was overjoyed. He looked at the minimap, hoping to steal everybody's lifespan with a thought. However, the blinking red dots on the screen were few as not everybody had attacked Cat or Wu Bai yet. His smiling face was frozen. He started dissing the assailants in his mind. Why don't you just launch a simultaneous attack? Why are you sending a few people to attack at a time? Oh wait, they would have died. Never mind. I can't let my precious free laborer and lifespan slave get themselves killed. Liu sighed and mumbled. Execute Order 66. System. The compensation is their lifespan. Affirmative. Ching ching ching. Liu's lifespan was increased, and 5 blinking red dots in the minimap disappeared. As this wasn't Liu's first rodeo, he closed his system menu and smiled at Tang Xian, feigning ignorance. It appears that your subordinates caused a scene. Let's go out and find them. Tang Xian opened a way for Liu. The latter unlocked the door and got out. As soon as he and Tang Xian left the store, they noticed the massive shadow of a certain plant monster. Liu ignored the crowd and looked up. Then he found the massive chomper. For a moment, he thought that he was looking at the Pumpkin King from a certain card game as Cat's new big eye resembled it. What the hell is she doing? He pursed his lips while he inspected Cat's large roots and vines, checking if she was sick. Fortunately, there was no sign of a strange mutation other than her black roots, trunk, and vines that I think you should take a look at. Tang Xian followed Liu outside and looked up as well. He was slightly taken aback when he noticed Cat's cultivation base. Friend Florida man, what's happening here? Asked Tang Xian. Liu shifted his gaze toward the troublemaking group. He stared at Yi Tianxia. You should ask them, not me. Tang Xian paused for a moment. He turned toward Yi Tianxia. As soon as he turned around, his smiling face vanished from his face. He glared at the henchman of Yan Zhu. What did you do, Yi Tianxia? Yi Tianxia's face was pale. He rushed to Tang Xian's side and clung to his arm. Senior, please help. The monster and the alchemist are attacking us. That thing ate one of us at first. But then, 5 of our men suddenly dry up and turn into ash. This is sorcery. We don't know what hit us. Tang Xian remained silent, but his back was drenched in sweat. It was confirmed that Liu was an immortal, and he had just used his domain power to kill the men. The Chancellor deeply inhaled and exhaled 3 times. He had predicted this, but he didn't expect that they would have provoked an immortal and his comrades so soon. By the time Tang Xian successfully controlled his heart rate, Liu already took several steps back and stood in the middle of a farm. Tang Xian was confused about why Liu retreated. From his perspective, Liu had nothing to worry about since his pet was as strong as Yi Tianxia. Also, Tang Xian had no intention of helping these men, so Liu had nothing to be feared. Little did he know what was about to happen. Liu had faced so many giant monsters before, and his fighting experience compelled him to keep a distance from every monster that could emit a rainbow aura. After all, these monsters were capable of bypassing his defense and wounding him. Nom nom meow. Cat went berserk. She whipped down her thorn vine and smacked the alley between Wu Bai and the general store. Boom. The nascent soul cultivators leaped away from the thick vine and dodged the strike. They bellowed and summoned their Dao avatars to unleash their skills. Colorful beams, sword chi, energy spears, flying daggers, and invisible bullets flew. Everything hit Cat's giant head and her vines as she couldn't dodge. Ha! 5 of the cultivators merged with their Dao avatars and transformed into 5-meter-tall giants. Their clothes were destroyed in the process, but they leaped toward Cat and threw their punches. Maya! Cat opened her mouth and shot out her long tongue. As if her tongue worked the same way as a frog, she caught one of the giants and pulled him into her mouth. Then, she chewed him alive. Boom boom. The 4 punches of the remaining giants hit the chomper's body. It caused a slight dent, but she didn't flinch. Nom nom Maya. Cat swung her 2 thorn whips and hit all 4 giants. They were knocked flying, but they landed at the border of Leo's domain to the west. The giant cultivators gritted their teeth as the thorn whip grazed their stomachs and left behind deep wounds. They patted their wounds and circulated their chi to heal. In just 2 moves, everybody realized the disparity of their strength. Yi Tianxia also panicked as he didn't want to fight a monster that could potentially kill him. He shook Tang Xian's clothes. Chancellor Tang, please help me. Tang Xian frowned and looked at Yi Tianxia with cold eyes. Then he looked up and took a few steps back, breaking Cat's line of sight. Then he scolded the henchman. You did this upon yourself. Why did you provoke that thing? You should have learned about Taoist Florida man's pet from your spies. But they said it was just a 4th stage monster. So, you're trying to take advantage of it and escalate the situation? I didn't know. You fool. Tang Xian deeply sighed. He had the urge to grab this guy and poison him to death. However, he was aware of the life brand on him. Had Tang Xian killed him, the 3rd prince would have learned of it and used the information to kill him or damage his Tang clan. The 3rd prince couldn't be trusted, so Tang Xian didn't let his guard down. Minimizing their losses was the only thing he could do at the moment. But as Tang Xian was getting ready to join the fight, he noticed a movement from the corner of his eyes. Leo had been observing the situation from the farmland. He nonchalantly helped a farmer mannequin pull out a giant potato, and he started eating it raw. 191? Well, it got what I want. Good job enduring that, cat. Leo raised his hand and snapped his fingers. He uttered a word, which would give Tang Xian PTSD for the rest of his life. To cinder. Snap.